Hello there, and welcome to this meta show. We're going to be talking about the meta up till now. I have updated some of the player rankings as well. I haven't quite got that in a nice graphical format, so we'll be talking about essentially who's the best Warhammer Old World player in the world according to my very limited formula. I did say I was going to try and update it, however, uh, it's pivot tables are hard. Right. I can't quite get it to do exactly what I want. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, but anyway, I'll figure it out at some point. Cool. So this is the popularity of all the factions at the moment. It's relatively unchanged. You know, the most popular factions still being Tomb Kings, Bretonia, Warriors of Chaos, Orcs and Goblins, and Dwarves. This is not a surprise because these factions are the ones where the models are available. The factions that are less popular are ones where the models are not available. Aside from Lizardmen, I'm still surprised there's only 3% of the meta is Lizardmen, because actually that book's quite good, so I'm a bit surprised. I am still in my dressing gown because my knee really hurts today for some reason. It was getting better. I went to rugby training last week twice. I managed to sort of hobble around for about 10-20 minutes, and it was basically fine, but this running up and down stairs yesterday, sort of. I say running. Running's the wrong verb. But anyway, today painful. Don't know why. So yeah, popularities pretty much, and demons, of course. Those models are all available, and the rule sets are quite interesting for demons, but they're just not being taken. But stuff like dark elves and wood elves and chaos dwarves are obvious areas where you're not going to. That said, like ogres are still available, Skaven are available. So I find it interesting the factions that people are taking or not. I need to take Lizardman to a tournament, I think, to try and bump up these stats. This is win percentage. So we've got Tomb Kings at around about just over 55% win percentage. I've put this box and whiskers plot in. So the box essentially gives you where the win percentage is. So essentially the little spot in the middle tells you what the average win percentage is. And the whiskers give you like the normal variance either side. So essentially if you're a Tomb King player and you're going to a 5-game tournament, you should be, if you're performing in line with everybody else who's taking Tomb Kings, you should be winning between 2 to 4 games at a 5-game tournament. And if you're at a 3-game tournament, obviously, then you're winning somewhere between 1 to 2. It's really only Tomb Kings, Bretonia, and Beastmen that are normally getting 4 out of 5 at a 5-game tournament. Beastmen are also it's pretty normal for them to win 1 rather than 2. So Beastmen are a bit more variable, a bit more unreliable. But I suppose that's probably because people are taking. There's a lot of variety within the Beastman roster, so it's possible to take something that's suboptimal, but still cool. There's very little change here. Skaven, it's normal to win nothing now. Has been for a while. This is quite worrying, really, from a data perspective, and Skaven really do need to rebalance. They're massively down. Skaven, by the way, are pretty much the only thing here that don't have access to Swift Stride. Apart from dwarves, but dwarves have got some incredibly powerful effects that kind of counteract it. I say incredibly powerful, reasonably powerful effects that counteract it. Chaos dwarves, of course, are like dwarves, but they have access to bull centaurs and tauruks and all that kind of thing. So they're all, they're Chaos Dwarves are doing pretty well because they've got amazing war machines, basically. So if we look over time, I say over, it's not really over. It's not really over time. This is the win percentage in each month. So this is the win percentage of all results in March, all results in April. So obviously for some factions like here, Empire and Skaven, we haven't had any taken in July yet. So there's no win percentage. And as it's very early on in the month, we've really only had one weekend of data. Dark Elves are doing really well. And I'll do another video. This is a relatively short video where we're just going through the stats, and then I'll do another longer form video where we'll look at actual lists and see what's good and see what's rocking and what's not. But yeah, early on in the month, so this data's pretty unreliable. And actually, no, that doesn't mean 0%. That means that the win percentage is 0%, doesn't it? Because if the line stops, that means there's no results. So Demons of Chaos, we've had nobody taking them in July so far. Maybe I ought to sort my demons out. I don't know, I've got loads of the bloody things. I've got loads of stuff to sort out. Like, I'll just show you this. This is what my skeletons look like for AOS. I spent ages on those bases, and I think they're okay. They're quite well done. But so I need to rebase those. Right, rank percentile. So this essentially is where factions are finishing in tournaments. So if you're 100%, that means you finish first. That's you're in the top percentile. I've inverted it. Normally, you'd be 0 percentile if you finish first. But anyway, hundreds. I've inverted it. If you're 50th percentile, that means you finish in the position that's exactly in the middle. So if there's 10 players, there's no 50th percentile. If there's 11 players, the position that's exactly in the middle is 6th, because there's 5 either side. So 50th percentile would be 6th, and last would be 0 on this scale. So this just gives you an idea of as to where factions are finishing, and if you're a Skaven player and you're getting, in the top half of the table, you do really well. Again, it's not normal for any of these factions to be finishing last every single time. So I guess that's good in a sense, but you can see that there's some clear trends forming, and I have got some faction rankings, which is a composite of all this kind of data at the end, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But that's the rank percentile. As you can see, some factions are doing well. The interesting thing was that dwarves have done it again, because ogres, I think, have dropped below dwarves. I think ogres got above dwarves last time. I think maybe lizardmen did as well. This is sorted by win percentage. So the reason I've sorted this data by win percentage is that it gives you a sort of an idea about discrepancies. So Chaos Dwarves, for instance, are winning lots of games, but not doing quite so well in tournaments as factions that are, generally speaking, factions. So Beastmen and Warriors of Chaos are, generally speaking, winning fewer games than Chaos Dwarves. However, Beastmen and Warriors of Chaos are doing better in tournaments, which is slightly anomalous. I think even High Elves are doing better in tournaments, maybe even Wood Elves too. So I think these 4 factions might be doing better than Chaos Dwarves in tournaments, despite the fact that Chaos Dwarves are winning more games, which suggests that Chaos Dwarves are either not doing very well when they get beaten, or not really being able to absolutely hammer the opposition and absolutely smash them. So there's a whole variety of things that could be going on here. Same is true with dwarves. Dwarves are, aside from Skaven, the worst performing faction in tournaments overall. But they are winning more games than ogres, lizardmen, and empire. So it's interesting that they're not doing quite so well in tournaments, in terms of where they place in the rankings. This chart is what I call the all or nothing chart. So essentially, what proportion of players are winning all of their games compared to none of their games. So this essentially is of all Tomb Kings of Khemri players, how many of them, as a proportion of total, have won all their games. So it's 12% of all Tomb King players have managed to win all their games. So we've looked at the normal data with the box and whiskers plot. And this is kind of looking at a summary of the extreme results. As you can see, 40% of Skaven players have lost all their games, which is, if you're a Skaven player, that's rough. That's really rough. There are some other pretty bad results down here for demons, 1 in 5, empire 1 in 5, ogres, dwarves, lizardmen. All these factions, 1 in 5 players entering tournaments are not winning a single game. In fact, they are losing all their games, because I'm looking at losing all the games. I'm not looking at draws, for instance. So this isn't not getting... oh, no, it is not getting any wins, isn't it? Yeah, so this doesn't account for draws. I ought to change that, oughtn't I? So that it's like losing all their games, because that's more extreme than not winning any games, isn't it? Anyway, I need to... Anyway, I'm just thinking about how to do that. So, yeah, so we can see that some of these factions are, you know, doing... They're challenging, really. The Skaven 8% is a bit anomalous, because I think there's one chap in Canada who's doing quite well, who did quite well early meta with Skaven, and so this 8% is him lingering on in the data, as it were, scurrying around in the background. Right, anyway. And this is my sort of composite of the data. So this shows what factions were doing in June. This is a composite of how good they are at tournaments and what their win percentage is as well. So it's a bit of both. If they're good at both, then they get S tier, and if they're bad at both, they get E tier, and various combinations in between. The point of this is that it's to sort of show what's happening within the data. The only interesting one, to me anyway, is that the Wood Elf players have come up to 2 from 3. So they've been 3 for ages, and they've just popped up cumulatively, so overall data, to A tier as opposed to B tier, which is interesting. I think they were down to C tier at one point. So Wood Elves are gradually getting better. I think that's because the book's okay. It's just not immediately transparent what's good in it, and there is a lot of debate and discussion online about what's good for Wood Elves. You know, there was a bit of chat in one of my previous videos about tier listings where somebody said these tier listing videos show only one thing, or something like that, that you know nothing about Wood Elves. To which I was like, wow, that's quite meta, because, like, you know, nobody's supposed to know anything about Wood Elves. But tongue firmly in cheek. However, realistically, I just don't. I have a poor opinion of the Wood Elf rule set. I don't think it really does what Wood Elves are supposed to do. It doesn't really help them to play their game, if that makes sense. So I think they're not a very... I think the faction's fun to play because the models are great and the lore's great and they're pretty cool. However, they're not fun to play because the rule set doesn't really let them do what they want to do very well, unless you take a very specific build, and anything else is just a bit challenging to get it to work, really, to get it all to sort of synthesize together. There's a lot of stuff there that's a little bit too expensive points wise, or you know, has significant problems, and realistically they need to have lots of woods on the table. Yeah, I know they can put one down, but still it's not that's not... They need the ability to put more woods down, really, ideally, but you know, that would probably make them better. But anywho, yeah, so that's what's happened. Interestingly, Beastmen in June have done fairly averagely. They've been S tier up until now, and then in June they've struggled quite a bit, which is quite interesting. So maybe more people are taking Beastmen. I've said that as a bit of conjecture, and I've actually got the data, haven't I? And they haven't. The more people haven't been taking them. Maybe different people, or people have just been figuring out how to counter them. Because the build that works quite well is just like MSU and loads of chariots. And chariots are pretty scary because of the impact hits, and they're all heavy chariots, so they're all AP2, which is, you know, pretty nasty. But that said, it's not impossible. They, generally speaking, don't have swift stride, so you can get your cavalry at their chariots relatively easily. I think the last time I played against Beastmen, I assumed that their chariots had swift stride for some reason, and that's why... I think that's a big reason why I lost that game, really, because I didn't really think that through. But I didn't realise they weren't as quick as my knights. But hey-ho. So, yeah, that's your lot, really, in terms of data. Player rankings, I need to do that one. I'll just show you where I'm up to at the moment. I'm trying to get this formula to work so it shows, I figured out why some of the results weren't showing, because essentially new recruit, what it does is it adds spaces after the name. So I just need to clean that data a little bit before it's in. So it should be getting on for getting all the results here. There are a few new recruit tournaments that I haven't included because normally like before June, because I hadn't worked out how to get the data off new recruit at that stage. So that's my fault. That's a collection error. But this shows that Luna Valentine, who exclusively has taken Bretonians, is probably the best player in the world. And Phil Carl, I think, which is interesting, Phil Carl also plays in a similar sort of circuit to Luna, except Phil's taking Tomb Kings. Jerry Parsley has taken a variety of stuff. He's taken Chaos Dwarves and done quite well with them. Yeah, so he's been to a few tournaments. Now, what this does is it uses the win percentage and the attendance at tournaments. So you got people like Young Duke Kim, who's gone to tournaments with demons and orcs and played lots of games, quite a low win rate, but the fact that he's been to a lot more, I'm trying to account for experience and success. So he comes in at 10th because of that. So yeah, that's the listings of people. Some of these people are expanded for some reason. I don't understand why. Abade, I think he's done one more tournament than that, to be honest. But anyway, I don't know where I am. So 1426 people. Now, that's not always going to be 1426 because it's oh no, it's not, is it? Because some of these are expanded for some reason. I don't know why it's picked on a variety of people to expand bloody. Anyway, but well over 1,000 people have participated in Warhammer Old World tournaments since the start of the meta, which is not bad actually. It's pretty good, I think. I don't know where I am. So go through this, and this is great content, isn't it? Watching somebody piss about with a spreadsheet, and so this Joe, for instance, this will be one off. Oh look, there I am, 175th. There you go. I've only been to 2 tournaments, and I took 2 really, the Ogre's army. I got massively unlucky, and the Warriors of Chaos, that list I literally put together based on, what have I got painted? So it wasn't amazing, but hey ho. Yeah, so that's where I'm up to with this. I don't know how to depict this graphically. I mean, ideally, I just have like a living chart on the website, and ideally, I'd get something online to calculate all this, and then have a kind of graphical format so that people could play around, like Power Buy or something like that. However, that's just a bit of a faff to set up, and I just haven't really got the time. Speaking of which, I've got to get off and actually get on with my job, so I've just taken sort of 20 minutes out to quickly record this video, so you've got something to watch. And later on today, as long as I'm not massively in pain, I shall go through some lists, and we'll do that live and have a bit of chat and all the rest. And also, I need to remember this time round, somebody emailed me a list that they want me to have a look at, so I'm going to do that as well. But anyway, I hope that's been useful. Just a quick sort of 20-minute video to get on top of where we are with the meta, and like the video. If you've liked the video, there's that button or that one. I mean, I don't think it really matters algorithm wise. I'm not sure, but thumbs up are always pleasing. The thumbs down are sort of make you a bit sad. I don't know why. But I'm sure people are doing it comedically. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe people really do dislike my opinions, but well, I'm sure they do. I have lots of lived experience of that. Anyway, yeah, if you fancy listening to more data and stuff, I was going to do a live painting session last night, but decided to go to sleep instead, or tried to, and then it didn't work because my knee just started really hurting at around about 2 a.m. So I had to get up and find something to do, and then take some painkillers. And anyway, I'm waffling again. This is supposed to be quick. Right. Bye.